Before we begin, let's recap some statements that LeBloc made during our podcast for Season 1, Episode 10.
I would want Bashir to be kidnapped, and then he's gone the entire episode, and then something else is happening on Deep Space Nine. I haven't figured that part out. When he eventually returns to Deep Space Nine, it's as a result of some byproduct of the action that the crew on Deep Space Nine took.
Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 5, Episode 14, In Purgatory's Shadow. Garrick and Worf track down Enarbran Tain in a Dominion internment camp and run into a couple of unexpected friends. Meanwhile, a Dominion battle fleet enters the Alpha Quadrant.
Bunch of crazy stuff happens here.
Yep, the plot suddenly starts moving very quickly.
This is season finale kind of stuff. This caught me off guard.
Well, the episode's kind of a slow burner for the first half. It's got all the stuff with Dukat and Zial, who's, by the way, the third actress now to play Zial.
I hope at this point they just keep getting a new actress every time.
So the first half is kind of, it's a Garrick tracking down Tain or something, some Garrick piece. But then about halfway through, just it takes off. How did you feel about all the twists and turns?
I loved all of them. I wasn't expecting any of them. And as you pointed out, it starts off ordinary, and then we get all this crazy stuff happening, which I guess we should talk about. One of the things being that Bashir on DS9 is a changeling and has been for a month.
Certainly has been since they changed the uniforms, because he's got the old uniform.
Oh, that was a detail I didn't even pick up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a few episodes back.
I was trying to think of distinctly Bashir moments that the changeling would have done, but nothing stood out to me.
Well, I've been watching it knowing roughly when he gets swapped for the changeling. I mean, there's no exact point, but commonly the sort of fan theory is it's after the episode Ascent. So I've had a careful eye on him, and he's kind of normal Bashir. Although when you think this guy's a changeling, it's suddenly sinister, even if he's just acting normal.
Yeah. So they didn't plant any little clues, as far as you could tell?
No, I don't think they wanted to foreshadow it in any way, because the point of shapeshifters is they're imperceptible from the real thing.
It's so funny that after we find out, they play this sinister music when Bashir's on screen and then he's offering sandwiches.
You immediately assume they're evil sandwiches.
They must be.
But no, he's just offering them sandwiches because that's what Bashir might do.
And then they pay him compliments and you think, no, he's a changeling. Don't inflate his ego. I guess you could do that. Just don't let him do bad stuff.
Nobody suspects a thing. But the Bashir mix-up was far from the only twist, I suppose. The one I've been looking forward to is Martok.
Why did you look forward to it other than more Klingons, which is always fun?
I just love his voice. Kardashians are clever people. All that sort of stuff. It's good. And he's fun in Way of the Warrior and Apocalypse Rising. He's a classic Klingon. And then he's just gone, but here's the real one. You don't expect to see him after the changeling Martok dies.
No, I assumed the real Martok was murdered.
Well, you probably don't want to murder the people you replace. What if you need information or, I assume, blood as well?
Well, I would not make a good changeling then.
Because you would murder someone and take their place.
Yeah, so I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Oh, they're not worried. They're held in an internment camp deep in Dominion space. Furthering the twisty-turny plot, there was some words between Inabrantane and Garrick.
And we find out he's his dad.
We kind of find out that he's his dad.
Yeah, I guess he phrases it in a way where you could say he's not.
Garrick stated it in the affirmative, but that means very little from Garrick. And Tane alluded to knowing him during childhood and being proud of him. But I think, all the cloak and dagger stuff aside, yeah, Tane is probably his dad.
Well, even if we ignore that, it's still loaded because he wants this acknowledgement from Tane. He looks up to Tane. We can say that.
Oh,
Or-
he's prepared to do whatever for Tane.
So it's still a big deal regardless of paternity.
I think it spins an angle on the exile mystery.
Why is that?
Well, if Garrick is Tane's son, that's a weakness. You don't want your kids involved in your spy work.
That's spying 101.
Yeah, don't have a baby, wait for that baby to grow up, and then make that baby into a spy. It's disaster.
But it's the family business.
Well, it kind of is. I'm not saying that explains the exile, but certainly that sheds some light on something. I'm not sure what, but there you go. Was that all the twists? Oh, yeah, the Dominion kind of sent a fleet through the wormhole. I don't think that's really a twist exactly, as just an event.
It's still a big deal.
Yep, and they attempted to close the wormhole. But someone sabotaged it. I can't wait for the next part so we can find out who the saboteur is.
It was Jake. And
That
Nog
would be a twist.
pulling a prank.
That would be a twist. We also found out the O'Brien's new child's name.
We did? I missed that.
Yeah, Hiroyoshi.
I totally missed that.
I don't know why they slipped it in here. I guess they realized that they probably should have named the child.
I don't understand why Dax couldn't accept that the baby would be able to recognize Kira.
Especially as she's been a mother.
Yeah, isn't that a known thing? That child and mother bond?
Yes. It's a fairly common thing. I imagine most people, especially those who have had children, would know that their child would kind of recognize them. I mean, not recognize, but they'd find a level of comfort in the familiar smell and actions of their mother.
Their presence.
It's a familiarity.
So that whole conversation was weird. But Kira does say 7 months inside my belly. So we find out that she did have a longer than typical Bajoran pregnancy. And I think we can chalk that up to it being a human baby inside of her.
Yes, that undoes all the problems with the timeline we keep bringing up about the 6-month sentences for Garrick and Cassidy Yates fitting into the timeline of a 5-month pregnancy. Now there is enough time, only just.
It made me wonder if they realized they made that timeline mistake, and that's why that line is in there.
It seems a very pointless detail.
that we cannot stop obsessing over?
No, I just mean to specifically say the exact time seems unnecessary. I was laughing heartily at Garrick attempting to join Starfleet.
I love that scene.
It's amazing how he convinces Worf, more or less, until Worf finally catches on. And then a couple scenes later, Garrick's like, oh, I think we should keep going. And Worf says, oh, no way. He just cuts through him like butter and convinces him absolutely that it's the right thing to do.
When he's talking about Starfleet, he even convinced me, even though when he brought it up, I thought, this doesn't make any sense. Why would Garrick want to do this? And then he starts
So
talking
good.
about redemption and how he wants to better himself. I'm sitting there thinking, hey, maybe Garrick should be in Starfleet. And then it's all just a ruse.
He's literally just wasting time. But he's kind of an older guy and an ex-spy. I don't think they would want him.
There's no way. Even with a glowing recommendation from Worf.
I'm sure he could do all the stuff with Starfleet, but he's not really the embodiment of Starfleet principles.
He has quite a past.
Well, to quote Captain Picard, if you can't find it within yourself to stand up and tell the truth, you don't deserve to wear that uniform. So that's Garrick out. He's also getting a bit chummy with Zial.
He's aware that it's awkward, though. He doesn't embrace it.
He doesn't particularly discourage it either.
Yeah.
As long as he has well-defined limits, then yep, fair enough, they're consenting adults. Doesn't matter that he's older than her dad.
We can't take his actions at face value, though. Maybe he's doing this just to rile up Dukat.
Well, Kira seems convinced that Garrick's not doing it for that reason, which kind of lends credence to the fact he might be.
Yeah. That whole conversation between Dukat and Kira was another one that I loved in this episode. That back and forth, how he threatens her and she says, what, is that a threat? Or whatever she says. It's really great stuff.
She is brave.
Super brave.
She's like, we saw it in The Darkness and the Light against the Sileran Prin guy, and here against Dukat. She stands her ground like a brick wall.
She doesn't budge for anyone. And I love seeing it here. Dukat getting in her face. This is a guy who led armies and killed her people, and she will not back down.
Kira is an example to everyone on how to be brave in the face of Hitler.
She's also awesomely progressive in her, I guess, guidance of Zial, how she's letting her make her mistakes, states that it's her prerogative to do so.
Yep. She only spent most of her childhood in a prison camp, so I'm sure she's a well-adjusted adult that needs no parental guidance.
That reminds me, I was glad to find out that Odo was reading up on human relations because, yeah, he resembled an adult as a solid, but that doesn't mean he was mentally equipped to handle it. People have experiences and go through things up to that point to prepare them for adulthood. He didn't have any of that. He was just thrust into it. So I liked hearing that he was reading about it because he wouldn't know how to be a well-adjusted adult.
What you say sounds nice, but I just got the impression it was like a pickup artist book. There's something they do in this episode that frustrates me about Star Trek, which is where they talk about codes and encryption. And breaking codes.
What bothered you here?
Well, even in the 90s, it wasn't hard to foresee that encryption would become essentially unbreakable very soon. I mean, nowadays, the encryption we have, if it's properly implemented and undertaken, and as long as the mathematical theories behind it are as correct as we believe them to be, it is essentially unbreakable. And adding a few more centuries won't help either. So whenever they're talking about, oh, we're going to crack the code, we're going to decipher the message, encryption does not work that way. They're not doing a bloody Caesar cipher on the letters or something.
It's a simple plot device that they don't lean on too much.
It's not that they lean on it often, it's just that whenever encryption comes up, it's always laughably weak encryption. Like pre-computer age style. Oh, we can crack it. We just need to run it through the computer and press a button and it'll say, here's the decrypted message. So, given this is a multi-part plotline, what do you expect to happen in the next episode? I want accurate predictions.
They need help, so someone is going to swoop in and help them out, because there's no way DS9 alone can fend them off.
So who are you thinking? The Bolians?
The Federation?
Maybe the Klingons?
Oh, I would love if the Klingons came.
Bajoran militia?
No, they're useless.
They are completely useless.
Speaking of being useless, Dax tries to tempt Worf by reminding him she's inept and misplaces stuff.
It was kind of sweet, if a little bizarre.
Just a little weird. Hey, I misplace things all the time. Isn't that sexy?
Plus, why would he care if his operas get mixed up? It's just... Basically, she just stole a bunch of USB keys and said, oh, if you die, I will lose these files. Okay. Was that the most useful thing Dax did in the entire episode?
I think so. I can't even remember anything else she did.
I feel she gave the codes a once-over before saying,
Oh, I know. She took the plate of sandwiches from Bashir. Changeling Bashir.
She ate both the poison sandwiches so that O'Brien would live.
She took the hit.
They weren't poisoned. They were just delicious. Think about it. In the Great Link, they share all information. That changeling is probably an expert at sandwich making. Although almost certainly just got them from the replicator.
Oh yeah, what a hollow gesture. You could just replicate anything. Oh, here, I made this just for you.
It's like if your friend is doing something and you just go, I don't know, get him a glass of water. That's just kind of nice now to think about it. Hey, just because it's easy doesn't mean he wasn't thinking about them with his changeling brain. So, all in all, I guess this one is a little bit unfinished. It cuts off really suddenly.
It does. And there's no resolution because it's a two-parter. But I still really enjoyed myself here.
Yep, but I don't think we can discuss much further without seeing the next part. So let's move on to words of wisdom in the form of a quote.
Lying is a skill like any other, and if you want to maintain a level of excellence, you have to practice constantly.
That is absolutely true.
100% true. How
Which
funny
is ironic.
that, yeah, it's coming from Garrick.
It's a statement about not telling the truth.
It's beautiful in that way.
He's not wrong. If you don't lie very often, you'll be a terrible liar. Just like if you play poker against the computer and get very good at it, you will probably suck.
That just means you're good at playing against the computer.
Yeah, you know the numbers, which is only a small part of the game. It's an important part, but if you can't convince people with your face that you're doing one thing when you're doing another, then you will not be good at poker. Which makes me think Colm Meaney may be the greatest untapped poker potential in the universe.
I wouldn't even try to play poker with him.
Or just use his face to tell you the saddest story. You've been in tears. Doesn't say anything.
Talent is pursued interest. Anything you're willing to practice, you can do. That's a Bob Ross quote.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I would say that things that are not possible to do are still not possible, regardless of how invested you are in them.
Yeah, but it sounds nice. And it came from Bob Ross.
If it came from Bob Ross, then it gets my seal of approval. I will not have a bad word said about Bob Ross.
Me either.
Okay, we should move on.
Good idea.
All right, well, good night and God bless. Because Bob Ross says that.
Got it.
Okay, good.